The sheet format then is somewhat resolved in SolidWorks 2018. The last video that I did and kind of went through the process of finding the drawing sheets, and it was about that time that I recognized that 2017 did not have that folder. So on Canvas, you will find the SolidWorks 2015 starter. I'm going to go ahead and download that, and I'll go ahead and put it in. I'll let it go to downloads, and the default location, C drive, program data, SolidWorks 2017 language English sheet format. So if you happen to grab all of that, provided that maybe the 2017 you might not have put in there, so you might have to backspace over that depending on your install. Also, I added the group down here for drawing templates are located under the program files. So drawing templates, weldment profiles are both under program files. Sheet formats we just looked at. The design library is something that we'll hopefully get into. The custom properties, so that properties.txt and the PRP file, basically the tab builder files are going to be both located by default under program data as well. All right, so if I come over to my downloads and we grab the SLD DRT, and I'll just cut it. Let's see if it probably won't let me paste now because I copied something else. Ah, it did. Okay, it didn't quite go in the right format, but if I get rid of the quotes, I should be pretty close. Or not. Nope. All right, so sounded good anyway. All right, program data, SolidWorks. When I go into 2018, we go into 2017, and then there are the templates. Now I got to double check what I just told you to do. Okay, so I'm going program data, language English sheet format. So I always want to go to language, sheet formats. These are all of the default sheet formats. So if you haven't saved a folder in your cloud drive, and this is all going back to the default locations, your file locations is pointed back to, that would be another place that we could locate this file. Everything starts with the sheet format, and the templates are created from the sheet format. So I'm going to go back into, and again, this being 2018, what I want to do is, since I started the introduction, downloaded with Service Pack 0, started the introduction, and then started creating those files, I kind of committed to doing Chapter 3 in 2018, so I have to finish with that, otherwise I'm going to keep getting future version errors. And so I want to start my my file, so drawing, and then in that list I should be able to see that it added the starter where I copied it. And if you don't see it, make sure that the checkbox only show standard formats is unchecked. All right, so once I've copied that in that multi-level deep or to your cloud folder for your system file templates, then you'll be able to see this. All right, it comes up and it's just a blank sheet, nothing there. So to make this a little bit easier, I'm pretty sure that I got most of my items, and still out of habit I go drawing view model or view layout model. And I'm going to browse back to my Chapter 3. And the majority of these I got the, oh, don't want that one. Let's go with that one and see if it brought in properties. All right, so one of the advantages of model view is that I can create multiple views. Disadvantages, I really don't see that view. So, oh, and I'm not creating a drawing, so I only needed one of those. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of a handful of those. There we go. All right, and I'm going to double check real quick by opening the file, right-click, open, and going up to File and Properties, then Configuration Specific. Of course, I picked the one that I don't have any information for that I needed to go back and update. All right, but it was there. All of the selections were there for that file, which means that I went into the custom properties and I at the very least applied those properties. All right, so previous we drew the lines, we did the fix, we created the border, went through that process. Where it failed was on the notation. So going into annotation, I'm going to generate a part number. And then I would like to have my, what else did I put in there? A revision, the drawn by, and I think that was it as far as really items we can always go back and add more later. So this part is here temporarily. It's in long enough that we can get the links. So I'm going to make sure that I'm clicked by part number, link to property, model found here, drawing view specified in sheet properties. It goes to that selection, and then the property name in the list is the part number. Right? So it pulls up and then saw that there was a part name or description. So I'll go ahead and include that one. And same thing, link to properties, model found, drawing specified, property name, part name. And apparently that one was blank. No, model found here, drawing view, revision, and then drawn by. I keep clicking that, but I don't need to. And modeled by or drawn by. Okay, so those aren't in there yet. So what I'm testing for, or what I want to verify, we'll find a nice location in the corner for that. And this will be my really simplified drawing template, sheet format, is this gets deleted. We don't need that view in place. And now the test. File, save as. File save sheet format. I'm going to put it back into the defaults, and so I'm going to go with. I think I've done that one before, so just text a landscape. All right, so that kicked me out of the sheet format. Let me double check. Oh no, I went the wrong way. So let's Control X to cut that out. Right click, edit the sheet format. Control V to place it. Now we see the string properties. All right, so the $sign property that has all of those locations, revisions, modeled by, part name. That's what I want to see. So save sheet format one more time. And I end up saving this probably a lot more than I need to or should, but basically making sure that it gets updated at each level. And then we're going to do File, Save As, and Drawing Templates. It defaults over, well, MBD was first, so we're going to go back and try and find. Well, actually, I'm going to have to go to mine. You would go to the one that's listed or the one that was first. And templates, so wherever the templates, so yeah, I had a landscape, so time to clean up from previous. All right, so this is now a DRW DOT file. Anything that I put in here and save again is going to be saved with that document template. We don't necessarily want that, so we'll make sure it gets closed. All right, so the test is that I'm going to go pick that landscape. We already started a drawing for this project, so we'll go back and see what's going to be involved in updating it. But I do just want to verify quickly that I started with 328, and we'll pick a view, and everything updated. Project 0328 for its for the part number, name not, Rev 1, drawn by, modeled by, whatever. Going to the next sheet, and then this is the real test. Did not find the sheet format. So the one thing that I always forget to do, I forgot to do. So I'm going to kick that out. We're going to go back to the sheet format, check the properties, and under properties, well, that one was okay. So that should have been all right. Let's see. Now I am confused again. All right, double checking. Let's go ahead and reload. Apply changes because it still showed up as blank. And we'll save. Save the drawing template. And that being my default location is going to get annoying, so I'm going to have to at least reorder. And we'll pick up the text. And just to make sure, let's go ahead and save the sheet format because I'm not sure what order I went in there. But I want to make sure both of those get saved. One more time, new. We're picking the A landscape. Let's go view layout, model, browse. It's gonna, and that's one of the downsides is that it stays in that folder. So we do have to find our way back. So if it's not convenient, sometimes I put a shortcut back to my default folder there just to keep it from being too far, chasing it too far. Okay, we got a picture of the net. We go in, it picks up the same number. Model view, browse. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. 329. And when I hit Control Q, nope. All right, so I still didn't do something right. Properties, and there is the culprit. Uncheck the same as sheet specified in document properties. Apply changes. All right, so sorry, but 2015 still didn't quite get you there. Now I don't know what to tell you to do. All right, so strategy. Multisheet is kind of being a pain here. So if you haven't gotten too far into it, just go ahead and put one part per sheet and zip them all up, zip all of the drawings up, and submit them. I thought I had all of that working, and here I am still chasing it. All right, so let's go back to the chapter 4, which this one I did get doing something. So save as sheet is kicked off. We started in on these items. So there was the first one. Oh, got a nice border. Where did that come from? All right, so that's interesting. We got an overlay. So I'm going to see if I can bring in, and actually, one of the things that I did this morning was to update for the CamWorks cam package. So I'm not sure if that messed with my default locations at all. But I'm going to move the MBD down while I'm here. And then under sheet formats, that would be the other one I want to look for. Yeah, I lost my location, so I'm going to go add, point it back to my Dropbox, and SOLIDWORKS system files. All right, and screen resolution won't or isn't showing me the OK. Go ahead and let it update, and we'll try one more time. All right, so the first sheet. Go back into the properties. A lot is happening out of that property. So just in case you're not seeing the properties or having to do the arrows down to get to it, right click and then go to the very bottom, customize menu, and make sure that your properties are checked so that when you right click, they're showing up in this top area. Go into the properties. There is my simple A landscape. I'm going to tell it to reload. It can't be located. That's nice. Now I know it's putting up a good fight. And yes, go ahead and delete. Apply changes. That cleans it up. All right, so I made a change to my sheet format. Any existing sheet formats I think I mentioned previously, I'm going to have to go through, and I'm getting duplicates on all of these. So I'll tell it to reload, and still finds it. Okay, yes, I want the notes deleted. Make sure to apply the changes. Same with, well, that one actually looks pretty good except for the sizing. Oh, and I put in a couple more lines. I made a little better distribution there with the text. So actually I had 2 or 3 incarnations coming across the sheets as we went. One more time into the properties, and really glad I didn't get too far into this. Still don't know why it's telling me that, but apply changes, and okay. And we'll go back and save while we're there. All right, so in the worst case scenarios, I've had 15, 20 sheets, all drawing, all detailed, everything good to go. Realize there's a problem with the sheet format. Go in, make a correction, have to open up all the sheets and go through that process of properties, reload, or rebuild to make sure that all of this information is current and correct for that drawing. Legacy data I'm less concerned with. I'll get to it as they come up, but you know, as the current drawing, and then I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Properties, and it still came up. That is just annoying. So what that tells me also is that on 2018, under options, document properties, drawing sheets, that got turned back on this morning. Now I am annoyed. So that was probably one of the issues with the sheet formats that I was just doing, is this was overwriting what I was telling it to do. So I'm still frustrated and a little upset at the multi-sheet drawings. It's not supposed to be this complicated. All right, so that being the case, error, operator error on my part, not checking that box first. Go ahead with what we did in the first part of this lecture with the sheet formats and see if it goes over correctly with adding the part numbers in the next sheet, if you're interested. The other side of that is for the assignment, you are only required to open up your A landscape default, put your drawing in there, put some dimensions on it, save it, turn it in. All right. The sheet format, the drawing template, is so that you're aware of the process of how to beat on this to get something that looks nice. And I've made it, once again, I've made it more complicated than it need to be. So going forward, hopefully that one little checkbox will not continue to turn itself back on. Next part of the process is that we need different ways of bringing these parts into the sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and open, let's see, 330 was what we just did, so 331. And if I have an assembly open, we're not quite to the assemblies. Thursday we'll be starting into the assemblies, and most everybody, especially me, would be glad to get away from the drawings for a little while. We're going to be able to do things like tile horizontally. Now that looks really weird on my screen, but I guess it's okay on the projector, so hopefully the video doesn't, okay, it corrected. You can drag and drop from a tiled window, also from a tiled assembly. So one of the things that I do is in our process, we create the parts, we create the assembly, we get to the assembly to a level of revision that we're comfortable with, that's what's going to be built. And then going into the drawings, I can see all of the instances of those items listed in the assembly, just like I can see this part. And I can pull either the part, or the whole assembly, I can pull the individual parts, or in the case of the part file, I can pull in that one part. Just drag and drop from one window to the next. So the advantage there is in the assembly, I kind of go through the process, and when we're building the assemblies, I'll explain this a little further. I go through the process of this is how I envision putting it together. So if that's the case, the assembly is the roadmap just as much as the drawing is the roadmap, and I can grab part 1 comes in, everything gets attached to it as a base plate. Subassembly 1 comes in, oh, that's the next item. And then do I need a separate subassembly drawing? Those are decisions that we make along the way. Next part comes in, I drag and drop it, and I can go through very quickly and set up these drawings and have this generate 3 views in an isometric, go to the next sheet. We did the insert drawing view model, and that's been around for quite a while, so that's kind of my, oh, and I didn't want that one. Now that I did that, that's been kind of the habit for a long time, is I always revert back to that when I'm not really thinking about it. Okay, so that one goes in. My construction, or my center lines are almost there. I'm not sure if that's another one that reset, but pretty much I can tell that I didn't get anything populated, or I need to rebuild. Guess I needed to rebuild, Control B or Control Q, to finish out the title block. A view layout, model view. We were at 33, so I'll go 34. Should have organized these just a little bit better. And staying with the views. And at some point, these are going to get a little big, so I'm going to go back through either on the properties and rename to S6, and that will save a little time, or a little bit of space. The other one, I thought there was a rename. Yeah, rename showing. So now I just got to, oh, right there, above properties. And that just puts it in with the inside of the tab, and I can rename those. So if I know that I'm going to have 10, 15 sheets in a multi-sheet drawing, I will go through at that time and just do S1 through S whatever, and that condenses everything up to where I'm not ending up with a little arrow that says, oh, you get to go over 2 or 3 to get to the end. All right, from Windows Explorer then, keeping my fingers crossed again that I'm in the right place. Dropbox, no. Not yet. We made it to 33. We can drag and drop from Explorer. Ah, I got 34, didn't I? So let's go ahead and kick out of that. I just did 34. Should have had the screen out far enough to be able to see it. All right, so same thing. And if I don't need these views, or I decide I need additional views, oh well. We'll delete some, we'll add some, but I'm getting this through, I'm getting the initial setup, and I'm starting to make decisions as I go through this process. Oops, got the view. Okay, maybe I won't do this for all of them. Okay, so made it to, nope, that one didn't update. All right, Windows Explorer. We'll come over to the task pane, and I've had my task pane turn off a couple of times unexpectedly, or don't know what I told it to do. But under View Workspace, no, User Interface. Under User Interface, there is the task pane. Notice it does not have a hotkey, so how I'm turning it off, I don't know. But every once in a while, it disappears. And then I come back over to the the View User Interface, turn the task pane back on, and the task pane is Resources, where we found the Property Tab Builder. And I guess Copy Setting Wizards. If I ever get this dialed in the way I want it, I'll make a backup of all of the settings that I've made. The next one is that design library, which is our library of common items, features. And then we get over to the File Explorer. and I don't think I'm going to be able to find the one that I'm looking for. But in the case of having an open item 36, I can drag and drop from this, from the recent files, from the open in SolidWorks. All right, so we made it to 35. Again, the item that is that are grayed out are in memory. They're being held there by the drawing, and the item that is solid, filled in, is actually open somewhere. And then if we want to tunnel down one more time, I can get to that folder from the File Explorer and drag 36 in, set the views. So, all right. So again, multiple ways to get these in. One of them is going to work. Probably the drag and the drop from the tiled is the most convenient when working with assemblies, sub-assemblies. I've heard a lot of the companies, commercial industry, are going to the view palette. So I kind of switch back and forth. I'm not 100% sold on the view palette, but maybe I'll get there someday. And we'll go 37. And main advantage of the view palette is you don't really know what you're getting. Well, you kind of do, but you don't really know what your front view is going to be, what the right view. Here you get to select it. So if I really decided that I would like the, well, in this case, the right view is showing up as the A. Let's go with the front, and then it automatically shifts into projected view. And you drag the other 3 views, and if you want to keep going, you can produce all 9 views plus the isometric, diametric, trimetric, current view screen if your part is open. Go crazy with it, kind of thing. All right, so I'm gonna. We jumped over then standard 3 view. That was 37, 38. And it went right to 3 view. If I want an isometric view, I can go to projected view, drag off in that direction. That's going to give me the isometric view. Several of these did have good geometry for the auxiliary views, so we'll take a look at that. So we can kind of check that one off. The model view checked off. The projected view checked off. Section and detail are kind of self-explanatory. Broken out, it's a little different. Break view, we really don't have anything long enough, but a crop view, taking a segment or a section. We'll try and hit each of these items tonight. And then under annotation, center marks, center lines, and the whole call out are kind of the, well, as much fun as we were having with the node, of course, I would jump over that one. I haven't used the revision cloud too much, but that would be a note or change as an inspector or authorizing the drawing. So where did we make it to? 38. 39. 39 and 40 already did in the sheet metal. Again, if you did those as a solid, that's fine. Whatever technique, whatever strategy you chose, that's going to work. All right, so we're going to stop at that one, make that a cancel, and then delete makes the sheet go away. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save and jump back to the first one for me. And let's talk a little bit about scale. So I wasn't paying attention to most of these, but if I change the sheet scale, and the primary view, the parent view, is that front view. If it did not have the sheet scale and the other views have linked to the parent scale, then I'm going to end up with all these views at different scaling factors. All right, so that one's a little bit bigger. We'll go to properties, and for this one, let's go to half scale and apply changes. All right, so that changes anything that is set to sheet scale. All right, so scale, use sheet scale, and we come over to the right view. Use parent scale will default to the front, or we can force it to the sheet scale. Kind of does the same thing, maybe a little redundant there. Oh, and we got that nice border back, so I'm not sure where that one came from. Oh, that one came back too. Nice. How about you? All right, so I still have an anomaly and a ghost in the machine somewhere. All right, so in this case, I scaled all of the parts. We brought in all of the views from the multi-view, front, right, top, bottom, the left, and the back. And then the trimetric, dimetric, screen view, all of those. Keep in mind that the isometric angled views are probably set to custom scales. And if I go back to sheet scale, then they jump. Inside of that grouping then is if I use a custom scale at the very top, we have to scroll up to it usually, model text scale or user defined. And under user defined, I can make that one any weird number that I want. 15/16. It moved a little bit. All right, if you want to do in terms of 49/50ths, whatever two numbers you put in there, it will scale it to. Doesn't mean it'll make sense or look good, but that's up to you. Let's get over to one of the views. So this was one that I dropped in an auxiliary view. So let's jump into one that I just put in. All right, so this one's fairly straightforward to go ahead and dimension. Can't say that I'm thrilled with the scale, so let's go with 2/3 just to be different. Kind of strange. Oh, and that was the disclaimer that you put on every drawing: do not scale drawing. So, when I go put the weird scales in there and put the dimensions on it, that I don't get but that doesn't match. All right, so radius. We'll go across the flats, and it is defaulting to the dims, so that's nice. We did not pick up a center mark, so I would like a center mark on my part. That's a little overbearing for a center mark, and if we come down and use the document defaults, get that unchecked, I can take off the extended lengths. So that shows up where before it was just pointing to the radius. Gives me a little bit more. The other thing that I can do is on the extended lengths, so that sets the gap. Mark size 2.5 millimeters, so I could either stretch that out a little bit, but it's trying to just find the extents of the view or extents of the object. So I don't really have any control about what it's doing for those extended lines. So maybe I'll make that one just a little bit bigger. All right, so we can manipulate it. And then last thing on that list was that I'm pretty sure that in my options I set the center marks and center lines to my center layer, and they're not cooperating by coming over. So then a center line, and we'll go ahead and change it in the group. I should be able to go from edge to edge, and the first one didn't select. There it highlighted. So once I select, see if we can get that over to a center. All right, so since that's not cooperating, I'll come down to, oh, it kept the other, that may be the problem, is it kept part of the other sheet format on the layers. All right, so if I want to extend the center line, we'll grab the endpoint and drag, and I can make those a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. So if I were to center on the groove, and that was a short center line, I could still extend it out and be able to do something with it. All right, so we're still in dim, so I can set a depth, set a length, and we'll go ahead and pull off one side. And we already had the radius of 50. Oh, it got one more center line in there on the base that I don't think I wanted that one, so we'll go ahead and delete it. We got the depth, we got that. We went across. All right, so we have most of it there. So just putting in basic dimensions, adding the layer. Let's touch on that one again real quick. Is right-clicking in any of the gray areas, come over and turn the layer on. And because I locked my, let's see if I go with, there we go. If I go function F5, nope, kicked it out a little further. Oh, my screen resolution is also for the projector. So once you have the layer, then you can expand these out. Again, I did not name consistently from the first sheet format to the second sheet format drawing template, so I ended up with duplicates here. If they had shared the same names, I wouldn't have got this. So one of the things that you may encounter, and I want to say that I've mentioned this, but F5 on the keyboard brings up the filters, so that if you ever can only select edges, can only ever select lines, can only ever select points, chances are you accidentally turned on a filter, and you will need to hit F5 on the keyboard, identify whatever that item was, or go back to the default filter, basically select everything, no filtering.
Is it just when you're in a drawing that
No.
F5 becomes?
All the modules, F5 brings up filters, and depending on which module you're in, there may be things that are grayed out that you can't select in the drawing that you can select in the part, or things that you would select in the assembly that you can't select in the others. So F5, the filters will come up in every module, but not everything is going to be selectable in those modules. All right, so jumping over to the next one, I'm looking for the isometric or the auxiliary view. There we go. That's one I want. So there's not really a lot of usable information for the auxiliary view. I'm going to go to the half sheet, and we're back to view layout, auxiliary view, and when I pick an edge, that's where it's going to bring in that normal too. And then, like I said, typically it's going to be in the most inconvenient space possible over on top of something else. It does make a really nice picture, but reality is that I'm going to have to right click, go into its alignment, break the alignment, and then put it in a more convenient spot. All right, so this was the one that we said had all that kind of weird geometry. So let's see, over on the other side, I mentioned before that I'm not 100% ANSI Y14.9 compliant. If I like what I see on the screen and I can manufacture from it, that's the only test that I work from. If it adds value to be in wireframe, or the wire hidden lines visible, hidden lines shown, then I'll do it. But for the most part, if it doesn't, then I'm just creating clutter that I don't need. All right. If the callouts are there and they're consistent, I want a nice clean look. All right. So when I go in and I select the parent view and I tell it that I want to see hidden lines visible, it's going to show that for wherever it's applied. And then since that one did not get a use parent style, it was the exception. All right, so I would have to use the parent style to get those visible again. All right, so all these little checkboxes, all these things going on in the background that you're observing what's going on the screen and you're making these decisions as you go. Why didn't that one get one? We're over on the property manager, we're scrolling down in and seeing what those settings are, and oh, that one didn't get checked, that one did get checked. That's driving our geometry. Let's see, one more thing with the center lines, or center marks. Center marks for all holes, if it can recognize. And I'm kind of surprised it didn't just go ahead and put a center mark on that one. Since it did not find anything It's basically kicking me out. So let's go back and check. So that one has more elliptical to it. Once I find an arc, then it will let me have the arc, and it will put the center mark in place, and that is basically the current layer, so that'd be okay. What else can we do with this one? On the view layout, let's go for a section view, and I'm going to do the section view through the center, and we get the alternate locations. So this one's horizontal, vertical, going at an auxiliary or at an angle. And then the aligned, usually the aligned is going to be related to a sketch, and you can modify that sketch to go zigzag through your part however you want. All right, so this is going to default to the midpoint or to the center line. And then it's going to ask me offsets, arc offsets, notch offsets, undo, I don't like it, or go ahead and hit OK. And then bring it down to place it. All right, so same thing, not in the most convenient spot. Alignment, break alignment, move it over a little bit, find a better place for it, and get it into that position. Not a great one for detail view, so we'll jump past it. Broken out section. All right, so broken out section requires a sketch, and it's putting me directly in the spline. So I'm going to connect those up. And depth is if we can't make a selection. If I can get the midpoint. Nope, can't get the midpoint. Or an edge. Yeah, it's not really going to help. Well, let's see what it does for the edge. All right, so gives me the hatch, gives me the broken out section, shows me that interior without having to do the necessarily do the section view. So something that's really complicated and already cluttered, maybe I break out a little section just to clean it up. Let's see, yeah, more complicated than I want to do right now. All right, so kind of the minimum. Since I'm having fun putting dimensions on all these and going crazy with the views, if you have the time, you have the seat time, the inclination, go through and take this to the level that you're comfortable with on the assignment. If you're more in the manufacturing, the machining side, understand this process and how to get dimensions out of it, but I'm not expecting you to do full detailed drawings. So in that case, kind of the minimum would be that I have a length, I have a height, okay, if it'll let me pick it without flickering, I have a height, and I can get an angle. And the one time that I really wanted that angle, and it wouldn't give me the point. Huh, that's interesting. I was expecting the little four-headed arrow to give me the geometry. All right, so I really didn't want the 120, but we'll go with it for now. Again, I'm not going to fight it. If you get a dimension on there and it's working, it's fine. And then for depth. Okay. And the last one, let's see, what else did we have? We did the broken out section. Let's go with a detail view. And maybe I want a detail of that notch. And then we'll get detail E. Notice that it is accumulating. So way back here we had auxiliary view A. And then we had section view B or auxiliary view C or however we went through. And here we are at E. All right, so it's going to keep accumulating those unless we tell it to not keep adding letters. So no outline, full outline, jagged outline. Oh, I haven't seen that one before. Oh, that's cute. Don't think so. Scale hatch pattern, nope, not really hatched there. Using the sheet scale, we'd go over to the custom, and typically details we want just a little bit bigger. So 2:1. That should be okay. And we'll go back and pick up the annotation, put the center mark, place it. While I'm here, I'll go back and pick up the center. And that didn't update. No cooperation, no. And then now we can go in and place our dimensions, full radius, width, and depth to the center mark. So if this thing was now 30, 40 inches long and going to overrun our page, as an example, it's kind of the last one that we jumped over was the break view. I want a vertical break line. I want it to look like the jagged edge and gap size 10 millimeters. So first one, well, I don't want to put it through the detail. Second one we'll put over here, and that shortens it. All right, so when I go to put dimensions on, if this is 40 inches, it's still going to read 40 inches. I won't, kind of the common sense is that if there is important data in that location, whole location, slots, important geometry, I'm not going to put the break lines over that geometry. But I'm going to find areas where I can place it and make this fit onto a sheet by breaking it into smaller chunks. All right. Alternate position view we'll do in the assemblies. When you have dynamic or capable of going into alternate positions, you can save configurations and have it show up in dash lines that this is the range of motion, this is extended, this is retracted, this is whatever. And that will only be available in the assemblies. All right, so again, my first pass on the drawings, I would then go back to the beginning, put the critical eye on each of those drawings, make another round of decisions, bring it up to the next level. 2 or 3 passes on this drawing, it would be presentable to redline, have somebody else look at it and go, what were you thinking? We can't make any of that, and then go on to the next step and getting it into manufacturing. That brings us to model-based definitions. All right, in the education version, you have the MBD, and that goes back to, did I just get ahead of myself again? Yeah, darn it. Okay, check that. We're going to go back to one of these because this is my item that did not get fully populated. So the first couple items here were the drawing sheet, and then I was playing games again, so we ended up with an extra. So from the drawing sheet, and my fingers were ahead of my mouth again, pick any of the views, right-click, open the part, go over to the custom properties, and then is this going to be big enough? Okay, P336. So what that's going to let me do is go through and put in my values. I don't know, it looks like a whistle to me, so it's a whistle. It's going to be a Roget's test by the time we're through. What does that part do? Right, and then one of the things with material, if I set it out of here, I'm going to go with the, let's do a clear anodize. If you set the material out of the custom properties, then it's going to say, do you want to save immediately, so that it can write it back to the materials in your feature tree. Once I save that and close it, now everything that I put in there, let's do a Control B. So did I end up with a configuration? Because material not specified did not come over, or did I not actually get one? So the check is to go back into the properties, SOLIDWORKS material, that one's okay, nothing in custom. So it looks like it just didn't completely update. So we'll save one more time. Hit the Control Q, which is the rebuild everything regardless, and then it updated for my file. All right, so it's kind of that continuous process of we'll make sure everything comes over, populates the title block. I really want all this information to travel with the part. The drawing is kind of secondary. Information in the drawing might just be what we did: drawn by, drawn date, revision, and some units. Whatever makes sense to put in the drawing. Have all the metadata data that travels with the part makes sense to travel with the part or the assembly. Okay. So back to the MBD and DimXpert. Let's find one of these that's kind of interesting because I've had so much luck with the drawings so far. Let's go ahead and under Window, this is all of my open documents, so I can open the folder that it is contained in, or I can close it. And we'll go ahead and close a couple of these to clean up. And then let's see, because I'm in the commercial version, I'm not going to get MBD. That is a purchased add-on, but I will get DimXpert. Now I got to check that and say at the professional level, but I think it's at the premium. You will have this thing called tolerance analysis, and it will take the parts that we put DimXpert values on and go into the assembly and generate a report for all of these items that go through the process. So professional add-ins, tolerance analysis. And so if I go through and I build up critical dimensions on the part itself with DimXpert, then it will look at the min-max conditions of those dimensions and apply them to the assembly and report back what the tolerance analysis is. All right, so if we get that far, I will try to fumble through that one again. Last semester, I got kind of hung up on the process, so I would like to complete that. All right, so a location dimension, and let's go with, let's pick the size, and we'll go with the cylinder, and I'll make sure that it selected the cylinder. Oh, and got out of sync already. I really needed the bottom. Location dimension, bottom, and cylinder. So it's asking for whole location or cylinders. I've had better luck with the cylinders, so I'm going to stay with them. These are default dimensions set out of the options. All right, so one of the things when you're creating your part template, way back at the beginning of the semester, we took a quick look at this. And DimXpert is going to default size. Oh, those are some really interesting numbers. So am I in millimeter? Oh, I am in millimeter, gram, and seconds. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Yep, 5 thousandths, but weird way to do it. Location dimension 5 thousandths. And then it's coming over, but it's still coming over on metric. So 25 millimeters plus or minus 0.13 millimeters. Okay, so that threw me a little bit. All right, so location dimension, we'll let it stay on the hole for this one. And it's going to place these wherever, and as you rotate, it's going to rotate them to kind of normal to your view. And so that one got 3 decimal places, and that one got 2. So I wonder if it had more to do with the hole location. So its parameters, tolerance and precision, are showing up. And unit precision, let's go with the document, and then we will pick up nominal for the document and make sure it's consistent. All right, so a size dimension for the hole. Well, let's see if it'll pick up whole geometry, 20 millimeters plus or minus. And there again, I need to go back into the options and see what was default for that particular item. The ones that we've had problems with is typically want the planar surface, but when I go to the overall, it's going to have problems with just that edge. So let's see, we're still in the size dimension. Failed to create a dimension for the face or the feature. How about location? That does pick that one. So we're going between the plane, and still doesn't like the edges. So that's been kind of one of the limitations. So let's see, what do we have? Create an intersection line. Well, we have that in the edge. Compound plane with feature. No, not really going for those. And the one that I'm not fond of course, anything that says automatic is usually pretty scary, is that it adds way too much, and even if your scheme is perfect, you're still going to have to go through and think about everything that you would have applied anyway. So I don't know that that's my preference. So we'll do one of those, but let's see, size dimension, let's go from the plane, and we'll see if we can have it pick up a point, an edge. No, it's still trying to get the face. So didn't really like that one. Doesn't like the edge, and doesn't like the point. So that's one I haven't quite resolved. Let's see, will it let me have the angle? Current references. All right, so we can get the whole location. We can get the basic size locations. Now let's go with, I think I did the size. Let's see if it'll give me the location. From plane to plane. Okay, there's my angle, so that's okay. But I still need the overall width, which means, let's see if I remember correctly, size dimension went from that face. We go with the width. No, we had to create a plane. So there's plane 3. Plane 2 was the bottom. Alright, so let's figure this out. Basic location, basic size, profile, tolerance status. Alright, since I'm guessing, we'll go with the first reference. It is parallel, and it is to that edge. So now I have a plane 6, and we go back to the DimXpert and get a size dimension. Face 1, not going to let me have the plane either. Okay, now I am annoyed because I thought I had that figured out too. And then I added plane 5. So since it didn't add the plane, it's not happy with it. Okay, so something else I have to work on. Alright, so I'm not sure. I'm going to have to go in the education version and see if the MBD does anything different. But basically it's picking up these same groupings. And I will also do some searching on YouTube to see if I can find a good explanation of DimXpert and put that up for you as well. All right, but one of the things that I do when I am machining and I don't need a full drawing is pretty much this: go in and put some reference dimensions on, and actually not even reference, the DimXpert annotations on reference dimensions if I have to. So that does bring up the good point, is under sketch, and we go into smart dimension, Smart Dimension will, because we're not inside of a sketch, refer back to DimXpert. And worst case, if I do not get what I want, I will find an edge, and I will go to the other edge, and I will still end up with a reference dimension. All right, so we make this work. Now I've got this part with all these DimXpert dimensions and all of the reference dimensions. What do I do with them? Under annotations, you can right-click, and we'll turn off the DimXpert annotations. I didn't really need that one, but I'll go ahead and hide the plane. That leaves the reference dimension, which then is show reference dimensions. Under feature dimensions, that's everything that was created to use the, that was everything that was used in the sketches to create the features. And let's see, the items in blue, right? So the extension lines in blue are the extrusions. That's a duplicate. So it picked up something else for the through. And so everything pretty much shows up. If we were to turn on the dimension names, then we'd also be able to see all the dimension names, D1 and Sketch 1, know where the locations of these items are. And I don't think I can navigate to that one easily. I know it's under the options, not sure which tab. Yes?
Is there an advantage to using, just putting up those, the sketch dimensions over the DimXpert? Seems like it's a little bit more harder to work.
Yeah, the DimXpert takes a little bit of the thought process. The problem with the sketch dimensions is that we design, or we're drawing for convenience. It's not necessarily going to be useful information like the DimXpert, like putting it in a drawing and getting, I'm going to machine everything off of this datum and I need dimensions to those 3 locations. I may not have drawn the sketch that way or pulled it, you know, whatever was convenient inside of that creation mode, versus, you know, I'm just looking at how to manufacture. You know, it's like anything else. Try it, see what works. You know, there's no set way. If you get lucky, you know, half the time, and all of your sketch dimensions come across, and it's exactly what you needed for the drawing and the detail DimXpert or whatever, then you can go with it. All right, so those save with, and then that did bring up one more thought process that I jumped over, that I don't, still kind of one of those I don't use very much. So we went through and we created all of these views. The model items, we talked a little bit about this before, and depending on where I was at in my resets and with the marked for drawing or not marked for drawing, this will filter out marked for drawing. So if I did something unique, no model items found, no dimensions are inserted. All right, so if I go back into model items and I say for the entire model, bring in all dimensions, bring in patterns, tolerance dimensions. Getting a little afraid. Well, I know there's no whole wizard profiles. Locations and whole callouts. Well, it does kick that one out. Then I end up with the mix and match. Is this going to be convenient for manufacture? Maybe some of it. The problem is, do I want to spend the time sorting and figuring out which numbers are usable, or do I just want to go ahead with a dimension scheme that makes sense as I'm creating it? It's a toss-up. You know, it's a decision that you get to make. I would say try this at least on a few of your drawings. Get the dimensions in there, and go with. This is always a challenge as well. I can move dimensions from one view to the next, holding down the control button and dragging. And then the other one is I don't like where that extension line ended up, so if I can bring it to, nope, probably not going to let me have that one. Now it's still because the overall was created. But if I can get these endpoints selected, I can drag to different locations, and probably more so on dimensions that I've created in my process rather than the items that were inserted. So just like I said with the parts, just like I'm going to say with the assemblies, there is a ton more information that we can get into on the drawings. It's a systematic process. Go through it, iteration after iteration, step by step, and build into your toolbox the things that work for you, the things that you're comfortable with, and be prepared to go explore and see what everything else does. When we get into assemblies, we'll look at the balloons. Don't really have anything to do welds and surface finishes with. We've looked at hole call out a couple of times. Oh, GD&T. Yeah, that was the other scary one. All right, one more. Back on DimXpert, we had the auto, and you can do a prismatic or a turn shape. This one's kind of a toss-up. Do you want plus or minus tolerancing scheme or geometric? And do you want linear or polar? Primary datum. Let's go with the back. Secondary datum will be the top. Nope, I didn't auto advance. And tertiary datum will be the right. Maybe not. Okay, front. Oh, it's giving them new names. How nice of it. Okay, I was looking for top. All right, so there's all the GD&T with the standard perpendicularities, position tolerances in relation to true position, and a flatness call out for the inside. Good luck with all of that. All right, so there again, I can put all of that on there, but I'm going to have to go through each of those items and say, is that realistic? How do I build it back into my document properties? You know, when I look at these options, where does it make sense to use this, and how do I get it there? All right, so it's a great tool, but if it's just dumping data on and it's not really providing usable, accurate information, we haven't really gained anything. So I do have to go through and adjust, make sure.